Theresa May has carefully managed her terrible public image. Here she is, stumbling and trying to buy time whilst thinking of an answer that will do her career the least amount of damage.
What's the naughtiest thing you ever did?
Oh, goodness me. Well, I suppose the... gosh, do you know, I'm not quite sure.
There must have been a moment.
Nobody's ever perfectly behaved, are they? I mean, you know, I have to confess, when me and my friends sort of used to run through the fields of wheat, the farmers weren't too pleased about that.
If you're going to answer that question, just say the real worst thing you've ever done. You know, I killed a tramp with a hammer.
That's one of the worst things she's ever done. I think that's what's so great about asking that question to someone with no moral compass. Like a normal person is thinking, well, I used to cheat at Monopoly and I once tried it on with my mum's boyfriend. But she's thinking, should I tell them about how I find human rights and imposition, inconvenience, or selling arms to the Saudis? What will I choose? I know, I'll pretend I'm Peter Rabbit.
I think it's quite a dishonest answer as well, because I don't think she even thinks it's naughty. I think what she's trying to do is conjure up an idea of a Britain from the past that's very rural and idyllic. I think that's what it's about, really.
Well, she does feel some empathy, but for wheat.
She loves repeating these little alliterative phrases as well, the strong and stable. And the other one she keeps going on about is the coalition of chaos that came up a lot in the debate. And you sort of think, okay, so she's saying that if you elect anyone else, there'll be this coalition of chaos, which sounds amazing. It sounds like a Marvel film you really want to see.
That's the thing, like, obviously, most people engage with politics in such a brief way, like, including myself. So actually, those kind of phrases work really, really well. Yeah. Like, everyone does know the strong and stable thing. Actually, lots of politicians have done that. Like, Winston Churchill used to always say, we'll fight them on the beaches, but once it made sense. all the other times, so should we give back the Elgin marbles? We'll fight them on the beaches.
Some of the dreams that Martin Luther King told people about were disgusting. They have been buried by history.
My father was naked and riding on the back of a Labrador.
I think that's why the alliteration thing is so much easier, isn't it? There's a thing that's there. If she starts panicking, if she gets halfway through a sentence, because she's not very good at suppressing what she actually thinks, and you can see like sometimes just fear in her eyes or whatever, or sometimes she thinks the correct thing to do to being criticised is whatever, and then she's got one of these things, so she can sort of go, strong and stable. Do you want a coalition of chaos, or do you want us, a bunch of bastards?
Now, many politicians found themselves being hounded by the same question over and over again. Here's Jeremy Corbyn defiantly refusing to answer an incredibly persistent audience.
You said that you
would you use it as second use? Or would you allow North Korea or some idiot in Iran to bomb us and then say, oh, we better start talking? You'd be too late.
No, of course not. No, of course not. Of course I would not do that.
You would allow them to do it?
Of course not. Because that is why I made the point a short time ago about the need for President Obama's agreement with Iran to be upheld. It's quite important, actually, and also to promote disarmament in Korea. That is difficult, I appreciate, but...
Impossible.
Well...
Impossible.
All right, ask the Chinese what they're trying to do.
You up there?
Yeah, you're asking a massive wish when you've got one of the biggest arsenals by your side. I'd rather have it and not use it than not have it at all, especially in today's day and age.
Do you want to comment on that?
It was quite a frustrating show, that, because the people of York were obsessed with having a nuclear exchange with Iran, which doesn't have nuclear weapons. I was quite proud of him for sticking to his guns, but at the same time, I thought he could have gone, yeah, I would use trident, and then just winked.
Yeah.
And then when they said, did you wink there? He could have gone, no.
Of course I would not do that.
I don't know, I've got some sympathy for the beetroot-faced men in that audience who were so keen, because I kind of think with Jeremy Corbyn, he does want you to know that he's got such integrity. And I do honestly sort of think that that's the problem a little bit with him, is that people think that he's putting his sense of integrity above national security a little bit? Because he could just lie, couldn't he? Or he could even go, I don't know, because anything could happen. Aliens could come and we could need to fire it into space. So he doesn't really know, but he sort of wants to impose on you what his own morality is.
I sort of think they should keep Trident, but just never update it. Because what's more threatening than a really rusty old nuke?
Yeah.
I was thinking, this isn't going to be a precision-guided thing. We've just pulled this out of the shed.
Yeah.
We've forgotten what it does. It might go off at face height like a backyard firework. It's a bank holiday and we've been drinking.
But the British people are obsessed with this, though. I think, you know, if you remember, one of the first things Theresa May did when she became Prime Minister was she stood up in the House of Commons and she said that thing about, I am personally prepared to kill 100,000 men, women and children, you know, if needs be. I mean, maybe the question was about school lunches.
She was just trying to get sponsored for Comic Relief.
Yeah. Anyway, whatever you think about Lib Dem leader Tim Farron, you can't say he didn't embrace the election photo op, even when they seemed desperate or odd. Let's have a look at the highlights of some of his coverage. Drifting along aimlessly, not really making any impression on the ground. It's on a bus powered by shame. He has a key skill for any top politician being able to bake tarts.
I'm going to get you to do a little bit of speed chess. Do you think you can do that and answer the questions?
I mean, not well.
No, well, no one's going to judge you on that. So is this about Brexit? Is this going to be about Brexit?
Look at that. So I'm down to...
Oh my God, you are checkmate.
I'm good at pop quizzes.
When he's in the bus, he's in a rear-facing seat as well, just as a sort of metaphor for his campaign. I've no idea where we're going. All I can see is the chaos and havoc we leave behind.
He doesn't seem like he wants to win the election. He seems like he wants to get all of his Cub Scout badges. So the crafts and the hovercrafting and the badge for saying gay sex is a sin, the badge for saying gay sex isn't a sin, you know, all of the badges.
The Duke of Edinburgh's award.
Yeah.
It's probably why the Duke of Edinburgh retired, so he didn't have to meet the fucker. Now, someone who had good reason to avoid scrutiny during the campaign was Jeremy Hunt. Here's some unrelenting footage of him on a hospital visit.
Mr. Hunt, how does it feel to be demolishing the NHS? Hello. How does it feel all those people dying because of your actions? You're closing our hospital. How have you got the cheek to come here when you're closing our hospital? I think the names they call you are right, Mr. Hunt. Your name is clearly misspelled. Let's hope you never need an A&E, Mr. Hunt. Any other person in the world I'd help with that.
I like to think that was the voice of his conscience. He was in hospital having it removed.
I like that he's pretending to be normal. You know, that thing of, like, you just keep chatting and you sort of try and keep that demeanour up. But then I thought maybe he just thinks that's what the world's like. You know, maybe he thinks that everywhere, a bit like, you know, wherever the Queen goes, she thinks it smells of fresh paint because they paint wherever she goes. Maybe Jeremy Hunt just thinks everyone in the world kind of like walks around going, wanker, why did he ruin the NHS? And when he goes to dinner parties, he's like, this new thing people are saying, resign. This new thing, it's a show.
Well, I honestly think this is the last election campaign where the politicians will even go and campaign. I think it will be like digital avatars in the next election. They'll send a digital avatar around the country and they'll dub over the occasional local reference. It's a pleasure to be here in Doncaster. I sympathise with your local concerns about unemployment. I enjoy your local cuisine of pie and chips and methadone. Okay, so, in conclusion, the political system may hate us more than we hate it, but let's look on the bright side. We all need to take a moment to forget politics, look into our partner's eyes and take solace. Take solace from the fact that on a daily basis we manage to suppress the hate we have for the person we have decided to try and spend the rest of our lives with. We hate the way they laugh, the way they blink, the way they eat, the way they sleep, the way they breathe, the way they exist. And if we can live with that hate day in, day out, how hard can it be to stifle the hate we have for our political system? So, chin up, everybody.
Thanks to Lucy Pego.